Hello everyone, and welcome to the Cioffi Brothers Podcast. I'm Ken.
I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be reviewing No Man's Sky. So the summary here is that No Man's Sky is touted as being an open universe exploration game with nearly endless star systems, planets, and species to discover. So we do want to start out by prefacing that we're reviewing the most recent iteration of this game. When it was first released, there was a certain expectation for the game, and it maybe didn't meet those expectations. So over the years, the team has been regularly releasing updates to try to improve the game and align it more with what those initial intentions and expectations were. And that's kind of what we're reviewing right now, the game as it is now, as opposed to previous versions.
Yeah, as opposed to what it was at launch, which I have a launch copy here. I played it at launch, and I'll tell you right now, it's changed substantially.
Yeah, I did not play it at launch, but I did play it, for quite a bit, even before its recent updates. They've made a lot of changes,
Choo-choo.
I swear to God, I thought we had you figured out. Anyway, so with that being said, I think that's a pretty good summary.
Yep.
A little more succinct than the last one that we did.
Yes.
This is take two. So let's start with the pros.
Sure.
First pro is beautiful looking worlds with different environmental impacts. You have hot planets, cold planets, safe planets, toxic planets.
Yeah, and all the worlds are fairly unique. You get they're all distinctly unique because they're all procedurally generated.
Yep.
So every world is technically random when you come upon it. So it's kind of cool to explore the world, see what you can find, see if it's a toxic world, see if it's an inhabitable world.
Right.
And a lot of the worlds, like the inhabitable ones that have a lot of green, it's a very nice looking.
Yeah, it's
world,
just very pretty planets.
Pretty to
like
look
that,
at. Yeah. And the hostile planets are desolate and lonely.
Yep, they are.
So that's kind of a cool way to immerse yourself into the game.
Yeah. The only issue that I did have that I'd kind of said is that since they were going the procedural route anyway, and there's all this math involved anyway, pardon me, I would have liked to have seen them work in some changes within the planet based on where it is within the solar system. Because as of right now, you have an ice planet, you have a hot planet, you have a toxic planet. It would have been nice if it was more like if there were regions within the individual planets. If you have like a North Pole and a South Pole that were cold, and the middle section is where it's a comfort zone. Obviously within our own solar system, we've got Mercury and Venus, which are hot planets, and you have way out on the outer rim you have Pluto, which
Is a planet.
Pluto's a planet, which is obviously mostly ice, I think. You could still have those planets that are hot planets and cold planets. But it would have been nice to see some variation within the planets themselves.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a deeper reason to explore each planet individually, very very thoroughly.
Yep. So next pro.
This is my favorite pro.
Yeah.
It is the interplanetary space travel and the intergalaxy space travel. I love being able to... This is a game where you are on a planet, you hop in your starship, you take off, and you fly up, and you're in space.
Yeah, and then you can get into dogfights with other ships, you can fly to space stations...
And you can fly to another planet. Enter the atmosphere of that planet, boom, you can land down there, you're on a planet. I think that is...
It's a really cool concept,
For a kid that was like that always wanted to be like, an astronaut or something.
Yeah.
Growing up seeing men walk on the moon and stuff like that. It's so cool to to be able to play this, get into a spaceship, hop into your spaceship, go off into space, find a new planet,
land
and start over again.
Yeah. And you know what we were saying earlier is that, you know, a lot of games you have, you know, this concept where you there's a very clear distinction between, like, let's say space, you know, flying and battle and stuff like that, and let's say on the ground platforming,
something like Star Wars
or first person shooter. Yeah, there's a very clear distinction.
The distinction is, this is a land battle, this is a sky battle. There's a loading time in between the two.
And this is just it's seamless. You get in your ship, you fly out into space, and you find another planet, you land, you get out of your ship, and you start doing stuff. It's awesome.
I think that's probably my favorite feature of the game.
Yeah.
Is being able to do that. Just being able to hop in my spaceship and say, oh, well, I want to go to this planet.
Yep.
I'm going to go to this planet.
Yeah. And you can see it and just go, yeah. So let's do the next pro. Is there's new base building mechanics. So I say new because there was options for bases in earlier builds, but what they were kind of like modular, and you would build them in sections, and then and they were prefab modules that you would build based on whatever items you had in your criteria, or in your inventory. That's the word I'm looking for, inventory. But they've changed it in some of the more recent builds, where it's kind of almost more Minecraft-y, where you go out and you harvest resources, and depending on what resources you have kind of determines what you're able to build. So if you go out and you harvest a lot of carbon from the trees, then you can build wood planks that will, you know, you can use for, you know, sides and the floor and the roof of your safe structure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool idea. You know, it's definitely getting into that idea of personalization. So as opposed to the modular approach, like, you really, you know, we're probably not going to find a ton of variation in individual people's, you know, different bases. But once you get into this concept of being able to kind of build it piece by piece, you're going to get a lot more variation. You're going to start to see a lot more cool, different things.
You're going to see a lot more creativity come out of the community, making different, you know, you can change the color of the wood planks. You can, you know, build all sorts of stuff. I know my base is distinctly different from your base.
Yeah. Well, mine's really basically more just like 4 walls and a roof. But you've started to try to make it more of a house, and it's like on the edge of water and like all kinds of crazy stuff. So
wanted some beachfront property.
Yeah. Maybe I'll move my base over to where your base is.
No, you can't do that.
I'm going to do that. We decided to do, actually I'm going to jump ahead here because I think this transitions. We decided to do multiplayer because that's one of the new things that was introduced in one of the more recent versions.
Just introduced this summer.
Right.
In the next update is what they called it, and that was also the time the game came to the Xbox One. They introduced a actual multiplayer component to the game.
Because in the past, if by chance you were able to find another player in this massive, expansive universe, which it was very difficult to do, mind you, previously. Now they've added some systems where we can find each other and navigate to each other, and that makes it much easier, obviously. But previously in the past, if you ran into another traveler, all that they would appear as is like this orb of light, as opposed to like an actual physical body. And that's how you would approach other people as well. So you'd run into another player and they would just be an orb sitting there. And now they've actually added the ability to customize your own character and so that, you know, when you see yourself, you can now you can go into third person view,
you can go into a third person mode.
And now you can see other players and what they look like as well.
Yeah. Which is cool. It's a great feature. It harkens back to when we first were playing Minecraft together.
Yeah.
You know, you can hop into a game with one of your friends on PS4 or Xbox, and you can play.
Yeah.
And you can, you know, you can explore the universe together, you know.
Yeah. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is that we found that on the console versions, you are not able to collaboratively build like a base together. So that's something I guess is exclusive to the PC crowd. So all you PC Master Race people can rejoice that you've got something exclusive. But anyway. So that's kind of unfortunate within the main game, but it's still it's a pretty cool concept that I mean, you got to think about it. In the grand scheme of things, a game like this where you're exploring the universe, why wouldn't you want to be able to do it with people that you know, as opposed to just a solo adventure?
Yeah.
Especially when it's not like it's an online game where that was something that was possible. So why wouldn't you include that?
Yeah.
So why don't you take the next pro?
So with one of the new introductions with one of the new updates was the introduction of land vehicles, which is pretty cool.
Which that was always a part of the game as I knew it. The ability to have land vehicles, which it must have been introduced with bases and stuff like that.
Yeah, it helps add a extra layer of I don't want to say depth, but it's that extra bit of something where it's like, I like this planet, I want to explore this planet more, and really build your base, and then you run out of some resources around you, and you don't want to fly your ship.
And that's what's really nice is that because there's these land vehicles that are available. If you want to go someplace that's maybe not on the other side of the planet, but is too far away for you to just walk, it's nice to hop in one of these land vehicles. You're not using your jet fuel and stuff like that, and you can take this and explore the area within a pretty significant circumference around your base. And anytime you're on the planet, you can just call the vehicle to yourself. So if you do take your ship to the other side of the planet and you realize that you need a vehicle to explore with, you can just call it and place it, and it's available to you.
Which is a cool feature. It
is a really cool feature, and there's also an inventory in the vehicles as well. So if you run out of inventory in yourself and in your ship, you can throw some stuff in there as a temporary holding place as well.
Yep. And then one of the last pros we have is there's a lot of content here.
There's a lot to unpack. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different ways that you can play this game. You can play this game as an explorer. You can play this game as a pirate. You can play this game as a xenobiologist and categorize all the creatures and plants and flora.
You can be a miner. You can go into these systems and just mine everything. You can be just a casual person living on a beautiful planet and build a house.
Yeah, so it's really, in some sense, it almost feels like, I understand how people could get frustrated. That doesn't seem like there's a direction to the game, but, in some ways that is one of its strengths in that there's a lot of ways that you can play it. Like we said, you can play it however you want to play it as an individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers all of our pros for the game, and as usual, with the pros come the cons. So do you want to take this first one?
So yeah, as I said earlier, I was a early adapter, I guess. Mm-hmm. I bought it on launch day, got the special edition, and it's a little disappointing that it took 3 years for us to get to this point.
It's a little tough, yeah.
I mean, when I first played the game on launch, I was so excited and hyped, and I played it for about 3 hours, and I'm like, this is not what I was promised. I was exploring worlds, and they were just dull and not very good. Now you play it, and it's the game that they promised us 3 years ago, but it took 3 years for us to get there.
Yeah. It's a little rough.
That's a little bit of a bummer. I mean, I know people really wanted to play it. They had to, get it out the door. But at the same time, this game was in development for a long time.
Yeah, it just seems like what came out was a little bit lacking, which I'm not going to belabor too much, because I think that's pretty much universally accepted within the community right now.
Yeah.
So it is a shame that it took so long to get to really, because we've gotten to the point where you and I have played it together a bit, and we enjoy it. Yeah. We enjoy playing it together. So it's a shame that it took so long to get here, because we could have been enjoying it much sooner than this.
Yeah.
So the next con here is just functionally the game just isn't always on top of things. There's pop-ins, there's glitches, there's slowdowns, there's just random bugginess. Like the other day, I was using the terrain manipulator, and I dug down into like the planet. And as I'm digging forward, every once in a while, I have a tendency to look back behind me and see how the rest of, see how my tunnel is looking. And all of a sudden, I'm digging down, I turn around, and there's rock there. And then there's rock in front of me. And somehow all of a sudden I was just in like this random pocket in the middle of the planet. And I was like, how did this even happen? So I had to like find my way out of there. That should not happen. Like, I was lucky that I was close enough to the surface that didn't impact anything. But what if I was, like, really deep down in the planet? Like, if I had done an offshoot from one of the caves and went the wrong way and just kept getting myself stuck more and more and more, I would have been done pretty much at that point.
Yeah, you would have been stuck in a cave without any way to recharge any of your weapons or your mining ability or whatever. I would
eventually just died and lost everything in my inventory.
Yeah.
Which would have been unfortunate.
Yeah.
So.
So this is one that...
This is a big one. This is a really big one.
This is a really big one, especially for me who... both of us who were a huge fan of Minecraft.
Yeah.
The crafting system is... confusing.
So confusing.
It's needlessly complicated to the point where I still have no idea. I've spent hours in the game and I still have no idea what exactly
and it's not necessarily intuitive, so for example, and I hate to keep comparing it to Minecraft, but it's really trying to be a more robust version of Minecraft, like with good graphics and stuff, which, if you want to say that, even, I think Minecraft has its charm. But the issue is like, for example, you cut down a tree. The tree turns into carbon. In Minecraft, the tree turns into wood, and you use the wood to build things out of wood. Well, the problem is that the carbon can be used to make wood planks, it can be used to charge your systems, it can be used to make carbon nanofibers and like weird stuff like that. And it's there's so many just weird things you can do with it that
there's a ton of stuff you can do with it, but the problem is they don't tell you.
There's not a ton of stuff you can do with it. There's not a clear map of like, hey, you've got carbon, this is what you can do with it. And then beside that, there's just such a wide entire periodic table of elements of things that you can harvest and find that it becomes daunting to try to even figure out like what you're supposed to do with something when you find it. Because like you find something and it's like, okay, do I sell it? Do I refine it into something else? Do I use it to build something? Do I save it? Do I get rid of it? Do I toss it? Like Mordite.
Is it needed to charge something? Is it needed for this?
Like Mordite, which is what you get when you either accidentally or intentionally kill an indigenous animal. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that.
Nope. No
I
idea.
mean, most of the time I end up selling it. If I don't have any room in my inventory, I just toss it. Like, it's just, there's no clear indication as to what this stuff is for, or, like, what you can build until, like, after the fact. It's just very confusing, and it's not an intuitive system, and it could really be improved.
Yeah, and it's too bad, because there's a lot of, like, I like the interesting elements and everything. And it just needs... It doesn't need you... I don't want it to explicitly say, hey, you can build this with this. But, if there was a little bit more trial and error as to what I could do with some of this stuff, maybe it'd be a little bit easier to figure out, oh, this is what I can do with it.
Or just, like, if they made, like, basically, like, a PDF. I mean, I don't know, like a menu item. Like a menu you can pull up that says, like, has the things that you've discovered, and then maybe has question marks over things that you haven't discovered yet, and it shows you like what you can build with that stuff. And maybe the items that you've discovered and you have collected, those items are fully like visible. Items that you can build from that you haven't built yet, maybe those are visible but grayed out. and then items beyond that you either haven't discovered or are a couple steps beyond what you can build, like maybe those things in the tree are just question marks. I mean, that right there, I think, would be something that would be so helpful for a person.
Yeah, for someone who doesn't want to get... I mean, someone who doesn't want to get... Even Minecraft started to simplify their crafting system, especially on consoles.
Right.
To the point where that is a thing. Again, don't want to keep on comparing it to Minecraft, but
right.
This is a game where you're trying to build bases, you're trying to inhabit a world, essentially.
Let me simplify this down a little bit. We should never have to go to our phones to look up how to do something or what to do with something. That should all be within the game.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. That's the long and the short of it. Like, we have to pick up our phones all the time to say, what do I do with this? How do I find this? How do I do this? If you are going to a third source to figure out how to play the game has failed.
Yeah. Yep. That's true.
Yep. So I do want to take this last one. So this is our last con. So the updates, and this is something that we just discovered recently, is the updates are creating some confusion. So the updates, basically, the con is that the updates result in a lack of stability or consistency in the gameplay. And what I mean by that is that the last time that Alex and I played co-player, or played, co-op, or two-player, however you want to play it, or say it, we found a planet that we are both settled our bases on. It's a cool planet. It was a safe planet. It was the temperature was good, and there was a lot of resources.
And it was fun.
It was fun, a ton of fun.
We were running around. We were having a good time with the game.
Yeah. So this most recent. Oh, and there was not a ton. There was no. We didn't have any issues from the
local
things.
Animal.
No. The things.
The sentinels.
No issues from the sentinels. This most recent time, we load it up, we start playing it, all of a sudden, there's a buttload of sentinels, and there's this new creature in our area that is extremely aggressive and has killed us, several times.
Yeah.
Just randomly walks up to you and kills you, is aggressive for no reason, was not there previously, so all of a sudden this planet that we were very much enjoying and we're harvesting and we're using the planet itself to get ahead quite significantly in the game, in the story, in the lore, all of a sudden was not a friendly, habitable place. So, again, and not saying that every planet has to be, but you've fundamentally changed the game so that the way that we were playing it, we can no longer play it. And that to me just seems confusing, and it's going to be frustrating to people if they also ran into that situation.
It got to the point where I was like, I don't want to play. I'm done.
Yeah, because this thing is driving me nuts. I'm done.
I got killed 3 times by this stupid thing while I'm just trying to survive. Mm-hmm. I'm done. I'm going to play a different game.
Yeah.
Back to Minecraft.
Yeah, back to Minecraft. So grades. Yeah, let's talk about grades. I'm gonna have you go first, and then I'll explain mine.
With it being today, October 2018, the current build of the game, I would give it a C+. It's still fun. You're still traveling, exploring. If you ever wanted to be an astronaut, this is the game for you. It kind of it speaks to the little kid in me where you can just kind of get up and go and explore. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the most recent update essentially broke the game for me, and I can't jump back in anymore.
Yeah. Until
they at least fix some of the stuff.
Yeah. So what I would say is that I am inclined to agree with you. The only thing I would say is I think I enjoy the game just a little bit more than you do. So that's why I'm giving it a B-, even though I kind of want to give it a C+. So, take it with a grain of salt. I think it's a game that still has a lot of potential, but there is going to come a point where I'm not going to want to keep relearning how to play this game. And if they continually make updates like this, depending on the types of updates they make, if I pick it up in 6 months, is it going to be a completely different game that I'm going to have to relearn how to play all over again? And is that game going to be a game that I even want to learn how to play?
Yeah.
So, it gets a little confusing at some point. So, A lot of potential, certainly some enjoyability for those there. I know there's some people who like it just as it is, and and there's some people who just hate it no matter what it is. But I think we're kind of in the middle of the road, and I think there's a lot of potential. And
I'm just glad on the final. I'm just glad the developers are still supporting it.
Yeah,
3 years later,
that's a really cool thing.
They're
And that's something that we can't
creating updates. They're still
yeah.
looking to the community for advice and stuff like that.
We can't emphasize that enough. I know we covered this in our previous take, and we didn't touch upon that really here. But the fact that this game came out, it was not what people expected it to be. And Hello Games, the developer, turned around and said, okay, well, they could have turned around and said, well, tough noogies, that's the game we made. You bought it. We're going to take the money and run.
Yeah.
The fact they turned around and said, okay, we hear you. We want to make this what you thought it was going to be, what we hoped it was going to be to you, and that they've continually supported it, continually released updates, and not DLC updates, not paid DLC, but free updates for this game. That's really something to be said for the company.
Yeah. It goes to it says a lot of their integrity, and it says a lot of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So I think that's it for us for today. So as always, comment, subscribe, share.
All 4. You can even do the little notification thing now for YouTube and notify us. It'll notify you when we upload a new video.
Yeah.
Do it.
Please comment, though. We do like getting comments. We try to respond to everyone who comments to our stuff. Of course, I say that now, and someday when we make it big, there's going to be lots of comments that we're not going to...
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I can dream. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. We are recording. Choo-choo. Get down. Like, he can be in your lap. He just needs to be, out of view. There we go. That's better. Okay.